have to get a little bit creative here. How much for a sprocket can we fit here? Anyone could be a winner. That went about as standard. So we got our BMW donor axles in. They already made up with the CV joint that we need for the inner side. We are getting them torn apart so they can go out and get resplined. So this end fits what we need. That's metal recycling. A quick run through of the drawing that was provided to Moser Engineering so that they could custom spline our axles for us. The right hand side shows reference dimensions of the BMW end. The key items are the distance between the inner circlips. So you can see that that's a 10.545 inch dimension. There's a reference dimension of the overall length of the axle. However, the lead-in portion on the far left isn't critical to the function. Thanks to Jeff Zimmer, we were able to get the dimensions for the left-hand side. We set this based on the distance between the two CVs on the car, with a known length of differential and stub axle in the middle. We defined some of the dimensions off the left edge using the inside edge of that circlip groove as the primary defining feature, since that's also what's referenced over to the far right, and that's the functional length of the axle between the CVs. You can see that we gave a reference dimension for the outer diameter of the spline section. However, we also provided a Volkswagen outer CV to Moser so that they could verify fit after machining. Where we'll wind up is what the 84 Volkswagen actually came with. They also made a rolling change over the years where the diameter of this interface grew. So that's about 65. What was on the car, about 61. So this is actually a new production part that had an extra flange here. Threw this on the lathe, chucked it up, got it spun down to about 61 millimeters too. And this fits on the car, and this shoulder no longer fouls on the circlip. Next up, getting these CV joints to fit. For that, we'll be on the lathe. This one I've already machined down. This one has a bit wider of a shoulder still. So this one was a new old stock part. This is the current production part, but now taken down to the same diameter, so we'll go test fit it on the car. Nice and free, no interferences. So next we're going to just cobble some bits of wood into here to support the actual diff here. Won't be in its housing yet, just going to double check all the lengths and make sure we're good to move forward there. Alright, we've got all of our parts, got the actual diff, got our outer CVs, our inner CVs, and our axles. Let's start slotting things home. Okay, so that's roughly our center line there. Alright, now we're getting close. These both have a little bit of clearance on these stubs so they can accept their CVs. BMW axle bolts. Okay. And from last time, we've got our outside. Looks like it is the one with this second extra groove. So these are the outsides. guys a quick view. I've got axle nuts on. Let's come in. Volkswagen CV there. Grab this light. Volkswagen CV there. Custom axle through here. Looks like we're a little bit short. You can see that area of exposed spline. A little bit of that will get taken up with that spacer that I was talking about, the cover. There's a little bit of float here. We'll see how much room we can squeeze out of that. Got a little float there. A little bit of exposed spline again. And then the VW side's sitting about right. We don't have the snap rings in, but the axles are all cinched down. And it's sitting in the car. We're, I think, within some spacers of close enough on those axles. All right, the next question for the day is, how much rear sprocket can we fit here? Relatively defined location between these two uprights. Want to fit brake and sprocket out over on this side. Hopefully not having to change this bulkhead much, if any. All right, so I went and grabbed one of our spare rotors to get that into this space and get a little help visualizing it. Planning to run these rotors both front and rear. They're about as light and small as anything that Wilwood makes. Okay, so that will be tight. You can probably pull the whole diff rearward a little bit. Not too bad of a CV angle still. In that centered, we will clear there. Brake is planned to be outboard of the CV even more. Chain line will be coming through about here. Looks like we'll have to get a little bit creative here. Okay, so a tip for all of you mod car people that like to buy aftermarket parts. All of these are designed to fit an 84 Rabbit. You can tell this part's about the same on all of them. Everything else, all the splines on the inside, relatively random. This was an assembled axle. This was drive shaft shop parts. They use different spline, they use a different spline, and then these two are actually OEM manufactured. And this is the spline that we'll be going with for having our axles resplined. I think when these tools come out, your warranty is probably void. So there's a little retaining clip here that actually exists within the inner tripod joint. All right, got past that. Fighting with there, it's this little internally captured snap ring. All right, and now for the CV that we will reuse. What I don't want is for the actual CV to start to come apart. This is a conventional one, so actually what these guys are made for. That went about as standard. And then we can lift off the CV. Clean it up a little. We'll send it out. They'll be recutting this end so that this end still fits the BMW CV joints.